I'm going to share the screen. Brian Baldinger did a nice little breakdown on George Kittle. And Kittle has been incredible. I mean, he's absolutely been incredible. I think the Niners ought to utilize him a little bit more than they do, to be completely honest. And here's Baldy. We'll play Baldy and then we'll react. This is Baldy talking about George, and we'll play this and then we'll.
Kittle caught a pass for 7 yards on the first play. He didn't catch a pass the rest of the game. He seemed a little ticked off about it. I said there's 5 different ways to get a tight end a ball. You can run a tight end screen right here, like they do. Pick up a couple blockers. Good job by Moore right there, and let him go 33 yards. All right, you can run that. You can run this. Put him in motion right here, and clear out. Clear out with Debo and Pearsall. Just clear out the zone right here and create a big old hole for George Kittle to run into, and that's just what they do right there. All right, there's the second way. Then you can run this. You can run all your receivers vertical and take Kittle and run the old middle screen. The old middle screen right here opens up, pick up a convoy, and let Kittle just dance through the middle of the defense. All right, then you get an anticipation on 3rd down and 8 of a Mike safety blitz and let Kittle read it and just sit down and hook up over the middle. All right, pick up 18 yards on 3rd down. And then you can get this right here. Little play action pass right here. Get the linebackers to step up and hit Kittle on the deep over. All right, there's 5. You know what? Let's give him a bonus way. Let's how about on 3rd and 4, if you motion Kittle over and run him on a speed out and pick up 13 yards and a first down. How about 6 ways? How about a half a dozen ways to get the tight end ball? Maybe they should stay with that formula. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. There you go. Baldy suggesting that maybe they ought to use Kittle a little bit more. And John, I don't know what, he said after the Buffalo game, Kittle did, that he was open a lot, just didn't get the ball. And then in this game against Chicago, 6 targets, 151 yards. They just need to feature Kittle a whole lot more than they do. He's caught 84% of his targets on the year. What do you make of the 49ers' inability to get George involved? I mean, why is Kittle so underutilized within this offense, you think?
Because I think that it's hard because everybody knows, especially with the guys who have gone down, John Jennings is playing great, and we can get into all the different guys that played so well, but they know. Look, the way George Kittle is playing right now, he has an opportunity, and I know everybody talks Travis Kelce, but is the most complete tight end to ever play the game. He's never been a great route runner, but the way we're seeing this with the ball in his hands, he's a tremendous leader. With all these injuries this year, he's playing through a bunch of injuries, and you're down there all the time, He's having a tremendous year. They got to get him the ball more, but 6 for 151 on the 6 targets. He is carrying the team on his back. I know that Jennings had a great game too, but this is as good as George Kittle's played. What do you think?
I think he looks great. I mean, I think most of the time it seems like he's not healthy, right? And now he is healthy.
Through it, just like he always is.
But I mean,
I'd like to see him get 10 or 12 targets, just back to your original thought. I'd like to see him get 10 or 12 targets, but I do think that other teams know, they're going to allow Jennings to make some plays. Nobody is respecting Debo right now. That they look at George and they say, this guy is the heartbeat of this team right now. With all the injuries that George has had, I think that everybody thinks defensively that he's the heartbeat of this team. And I think he's playing as good as he has ever played. And I think that he's trying to carry this team on his back as far as they could potentially go, which isn't far. I understand that. But, man, the way he's playing, the way he's always blocked, he's the best tight end in the game right now. And he's 30-plus years old, and he seems to be getting better because of the way he takes care of himself.
I just look at Kittle and I think, man, if you told me at the beginning of the year you weren't going to have CMC, Ayuk wasn't going to be what he was going to be, and then he was going to get hurt, Debo was going to regress, I would have thought, oh man, Kittle is going to, and Kittle's going to stay healthy.
Right.
And I would have thought Kittle would have had a monster year. Listen to these stats. Travis Kelce, 2 touchdowns. George Kittle, 8 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 107 targets, 80 receptions. George Kittle, 67 targets, 56 receptions. Kittle has 40 fewer targets than Travis Kelce in a year where Ayuk's been hurt for weeks. CMC didn't play most of the year. I gotta say, I think that's an underutilization of Kittle. I mean, I think I understand Kelsey's not really the blocker that Kittle is. Kittle's a good blocker. Find a new good blocker. He shouldn't have 40 less receptions than Travis Kelsey. I think they're leaving some meat on the bone. I think they really need to feature this guy. They featured him this weekend, and look what happened. I'd like to see them feature him a little bit more down the stretch than they have.
Well, just
You want that?
point.
Don't you think that's kind of an egregious stat that he's got 40
Yeah.
fewer targets
Well,
than
especially
Kelsey?
when they get comped. Kelsey gets comped with him, and Kelsey doesn't block, and especially at this age, 35 for Kelsey, he doesn't block at all. He's a glorified receiver. He's only had one, and I'm talking Kittle, only one double-digit target game this year. It was against Arizona on the 6th of October. That's so long ago. I had a job. I mean, he's got 12 targets in that game, caught 8. But other than that, like you said, just to your point, 6, 7, 7, 4 against Tampa Bay, 4 targets against Tampa Bay, 6 against Green Bay, 2 against Buffalo, in which he had a catch for 7, and then he caught all 6 passes for 151. So, especially the way that the season is going, George Kittle should be a double-digit target guy every single time, because this as well as I do. What the league is about is it's about mismatches, and so what you're trying to do is you're trying to create mismatches all the time. Jennings is open because of his physicality. Deebo Samuel, we can get into. I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. And George Kittle is just like I said. I think he carried the offense on his back, even though Jennings had a good game, Guerendo had a good game, Brock had a nice game. George Kittle is just like, we're not going to lose. This is as good as football when he's in it and when they are targeting him. And like I said, instead of 6, he should have had 10 or 12. But he's just willing this team to whatever they can get to, which at this point, and I know we're going to go over it, but it's probably not going to go too far. But man, he's playing some great football.
Oh, he really is. I mean, and to me, he's underutilized. That's the first thing that kind of watching this last game. I'm like, man, God, they gotta use this guy more. And he said he was open against Buffalo, and he just didn't get the ball. The other guy coming out of this game that you got to talk about is Isaac Guerendo. Oh my God. First start in the NFL. Only the second start of his career since high school. And he just absolutely was fantastic. Guerendo's really exciting. Let's hear Baldy's breakdown on Guerendo. This is pretty good too. And then we'll react. This is Brian Baldinger talking about Isaac Guerendo, number 31, your newest 49er running back.
So Isaac Guerendo gets his first NFL start, and he put on a show on Sunday. Vision, cutting ability, power, you name it. You want to see, this is Pooney power. Dominic Pooney's going to pull. It ain't pretty. It's just trying to find somewhere. But here's Tremaine Edmonds right in the hole. Bam, put the helmet down, spin on contact, score your first touchdown. And then, how many times have we seen Christian McCaffrey the last 3 years run this route? This exact same route on third down, right here. Like, he takes this over the middle and doesn't hook it up because there's space there. And he goes for 23 yards. All right, his best game as a pro. And then he had the explosive runs. Man coverage, right? There's Deebo. There's Kyler Gordon right here. All right, so little underneath handoff right here. Juwan Jennings being covered by Jalen Johnson. But right here, this is the moment of truth. There's Kevin Byard right there. Coming down with leverage. Watch the speed of Guerendo. Turn the corner on him. He misjudged the angle because of the speed of Guerendo. All right, Kevin Byard been in this business a long time. And then you get the matchups right here. Right here, you get this shift, and you're going to get Guerendo matched up with Jack Sanborn. Right in the sun. I put a little sunblock on right there to catch that one. Goes right by the linebacker. Then you get this. Watch him. Watch the patience he has to let Juice clear here, to go make his seal block. Little patience. All right. Here comes Conley with a great block on Edmonds. Deebo with the block. Touchdown. All right. 2 touchdowns on the day. Like, here it is. 3 double teams at the point. All right. McKivitz played great. All right. You get Pooney, double teams right here. Burford came in and played really well. Bam, punishing runs. 128 total yards, 17 touches and 2 touchdowns. I know McCaffrey is great. I know Jordan Mason has been great. But that kid came to play.
Yeah. Unbelievable performance from Guerendo. What did you think of Guerendo? He now has the foot. He's got the foot sprain, so
Yep.
it's going to be a game time decision Thursday night whether or not he can go against the Rams. But John, when you watch Guerendo, the first thing that jumps out to me is this guy's got difference making speed, and they should have utilized it earlier. They shouldn't have waited for the other two running backs to freaking die before this guy got a shot. And it's December 9th. I mean, my God, this guy's got 4.3 speed. He's 220 pounds. You just saw a veteran safety there, Kevin Byard, take a horrendous angle because nobody expects anybody this size to run that fast. And the Niners have barely used him at all.
There's a few different things here. It's just who Kyle is, and Kyle is a good coach who has had a bad year, but he loves himself some Christian McCaffrey, and he won't give Mason a chance. He won't give Guerendo a chance. He just won't do it. But the thing that's great about Guerendo, and you know this as well as I do because we saw him in preseason, and he didn't really know how to run the zone. And you said this before we even watched the clips. This is a guy who was a wide receiver up until a couple of years ago. This is a guy that played at Wisconsin and hardly got any playing time and then got some run at Louisville, and they were asking him all week long. Remember that one game he had 26 carries? He just hasn't done this very long. The thing that's so remarkable about him, we'll get to his physical traits, as you just said in a second. The thing that's so remarkable is at the beginning of the year, he was either trying to run right in to create a hole that wasn't there, or he was trying to pop to the outside because he has 4.33 speed at 6'1" and 223 pounds. So he didn't really know how to do it. And Kyle Shanahan is like, one cut, get up the field. And you saw in that first cut that you played, that Baldinger did just there, he has already learned what takes a long time. You're surfing behind that line, and then you're looking for that cut lane, and then that's how you run the zone offense or the zone running game. It's not easy. A lot of guys couldn't do it. Remember Darren McFadden with the Raiders? We go on down the line. Arian Foster comes to mind for a lot of people as a guy who could really run it, but not everybody can run it. And this guy has figured it out in this much of a season, and now he's a threat. Like I said, the fact they were showing the route that he run, they show him the linebacker Sanborn. He was a receiver, so now Brock has it in his head that unlike with Mason, for some reason he's going to throw him the ball so he can catch it, he can run it. We know he's got the speed. You just talked about the power. This season I hope they beat the Rams and everything, but if you look at the projection, I don't think they're getting in the playoffs. But what's happening with the national media is they're putting the Niners in this box that they're dead. Well, if next year McCaffrey comes back and you have Mason and then you see what Guerendo can do and you got to find a way to get him on the field. If Ayuk is healthy, Debo's going to be gone. George Kittle's playing the way he's playing. Juwan Jennings looks like a number one receiver. These guys have weapons. And now it's incumbent upon Kyle to get somebody in the building that's that just says to Kyle, love you. You're a great offensive coordinator, but Kyle, let's start thinking different. You got three running backs here, and you got Christian McCaffrey getting a little bit older year by year. You got to find a place for Guerendo. You got to find a place for a guy who's figured out a zone running scheme, and he's just going to get better and better, who's 233 pounds and runs a 4.3. You got to find a way. And you got to find a way for a north and south runner like Mason who punishes the defense. You got to find a way. I don't care if McCaffrey's running in the slot. Use that creativeness, smoke a joint, and get real creative and out of the box thinking and get all this talent on the field. It shouldn't, as you started out with, and I don't want to make Guerendo into a negative because he's a positive, but what you just said there, find a way to get these guys on the field. Christian McCaffrey isn't the only guy who can run the ball, and I want Christian McCaffrey, who just signed a brand new contract, to get the most out of what he's got left. I'm not saying he's done, but Guerendo is too much of a talent to use when you're out of the playoffs. Essentially, he's your third string running back, and you say, let's just throw him in there and see what he can do. He just proved it. He had the big run in Seattle. Like you've seen these flashes, but in a game like this where he's the main running guy and he can catch the ball too, and he's showing it outside and inside and finding the holes and being able to surf and all these kind of things, you got to find a place for a guy like that. You absolutely have to.
He's, it's funny. Early in the year, I said, man, this guy's really not a running back. This guy right here, Steve-O's like, Larry wants to use the fullback now. Think about that. Because I said he doesn't really have running back pick and slide ability. He doesn't have that kind of.
He's kind of straight upward, He kind of like an Eric Dickerson kind of guy where there's a lot of zone to hit. Even though he's 6'1", he almost runs like he's 6'3" or 6'4".
He's athletic. He does run upright, but he's fast. I mean, the speed is really unbelievable. And
every time he gets the ball, you're thinking to yourself, if he finds a crack, on the 30-yard run that he had, but when you look at him and you say, if he finds a crack, you're just not going to catch him.
No, no. I mean, seriously, this guy will not be caught from behind. And I'll give him credit too. This guy learns. Like he's got very little experience. So Kyle said it about a month ago. He's like every carry that he takes, he learns and he doesn't make the same mistake twice. So, he's looked incredibly raw at times. He's run up the back of his offensive line. He's fumbled. He looks like a guy who's better in open spaces. He probably is going to be better in open spaces, but man, he was good yesterday. And if they could just utilize this guy, I mean, what really stood out to me, John, was that he's not a good receiver. This guy's a really natural receiver. Yep. He really catches the ball very naturally. So that means he's going to be able to catch it outside of his frame and make difficult catches, and all the more reason to utilize him. Now, one of the things that was real apparent is that this guy can get to the edge pretty much at will, something that Deebo Samuel used to be able to do and can no longer do.